A top-notch male nurse who only serves women. Serving female patients, assisting female nurses, and comforting female doctors. That's right, this is male nurse Zhang Hui's professional massage care. Miss, the massage is over. Would you like any other services? Xiaohui, come and pass me a towel. Xiaohui, come and let me relax. Every time he heard these sweet voices, Zhang Hui felt a strange feeling in his heart. As the only male nurse in the obstetrics and gynecology department, he not only had to serve and take care of the women who were doing prenatal checkups every day, but also became a male servant for the nurses. The sun was shining outside the lounge, and the spring was full in the lounge. Zhang Hui had just stuffed a bath towel into the bathroom for the nurse Xiaohui who was taking a bath. Before his buttocks warmed up the chair, suddenly, a pair of snow-white slender legs were unceremoniously placed on his legs, and then came Li Jingjing's lazy and tired voice. Xiaohui, come and massage my legs. Zhang Hui raised his eyes and saw Li Jingjing sitting opposite him unzipping her nurse's uniform, and a touch of snow-white and proud scenery came into view directly. For Zhang Hui, she didn't mind exposing her most charming and private parts. For Zhang Hui, she never treated Zhang Hui as an outsider. Zhang Hui also enjoyed it very much. He was very happy to massage Li Jingjing. Li Jingjing was the most beautiful nurse in Dongjiang People's Hospital. She was born with a charming face and a tall and slender figure like a model. Her proud figure of more than 34 cm and a pair of long white legs not only made the male patients excited, but also made the female colleagues extremely envious. Therefore, she was the object of pursuit by doctors of various departments, including some rich second generations. Zhang Hui stroked her beautiful legs and massaged them regularly. However, the range of his massage was limited to the part 10 centimeters above the knee. Above was the dangerous area, and Li Jingjing would blame him. However, today was an exception. Li Jingjing closed her eyes and enjoyed it for a while. Suddenly she sat up and moved his hand up a long way. Xiaohui, go up a little, use your trick quickly. Zhang Hui's trick was the unique Zhuoshuan massage method of the Zhang family, which was not only specialized in treating various backaches. At the same time, it has an immediate effect on difficult and complicated diseases. However, Zhang Hui has never verified it. Zhang Hui put his hand on his thigh, feeling the warm current coming, and said with a smile, Sister Jingjing, aren't you afraid that I will take advantage of you? No, just treat it as a benefit for you. Li Jingjing blinked her charming eyes and smiled. Benefits, I want bigger benefits. Zhang Hui laughed wickedly and made a quick move. The flexible technique swirled on the delicate and white skin. Li Jingjing's face was full of joy, and her body trembled slightly. Inadvertently, her legs opened a little, revealing a touch of black lace panties. Oh, wearing so sexy, she must have hooked up with someone again today. Li Jingjing has no shortage of dates, and she is picked up by high-end sports cars every day. Bad guy, where are you looking? Li Jingjing found Zhang Hui's naughty eyes and kicked him secretly. Zhang Hui dodged and stood behind her. His hands slid down from her shoulders and said with a smile, Sister Jingjing, you misunderstood me. Well, let me give you a more comfortable massage. Just when he touched the soft apron, he was hit hard by Li Jingjing. Then he stood up and smiled leisurely, you little bad guy, you want to take advantage of me again. How could it be, Sister Jingjing? What's our relationship? You still don't trust me. Zhang Hui grinned evilly. The plan failed, and Zhang Hui was thinking of another countermeasure. Suddenly, a voice came from outside, Li Jingjing, Zhang Hui, Marguerite in Ward 3 needs urgent care. The two looked at each other, quickly tidied their clothes and went over. Marguerite was only 25 or 26 years old. She was so beautiful and hot, and her whole body exuded a mature and charming temperament. Marguerite was not pregnant, but suffered from a rare pregnancy syndrome, which was a pregnancy reaction that only pregnant women have. When the two came in, they saw Marguerite's face flushed, one hand covering her chest, the other hand covering her lower abdomen, and she uttered a few uncomfortable mutterings from time to time. Miss Mar, you have that reaction again. Li Jingjing came forward and hurriedly called out. Marguerite nodded slightly shyly and said softly, where is Dr. Shen? Why hasn't she come yet? Miss Mar, please bear with it. Dr. Shen is out and will be back soon. Li Jingjing comforted her. Shen Jing, a top student studying in the United States. One of the most outstanding attending doctors in obstetrics and gynecology, she is responsible for Marguerite's condition. No, no, I'm going to die. Marguerite twisted her shoulders slightly, and her legs struggled slightly at the same time. But. Li Jingjing looked embarrassed and turned her head to look at Zhang Hui. Marguerite was actually suffering from chest and abdominal distension, which are symptoms only experienced by parturients. Xinjing's original acupuncture therapy can temporarily relieve these symptoms to a certain extent, but it cannot cure them. Moreover, Marguerite's attacks have become more and more frequent recently. Miss Mar, why don't you let me take a look? Zhang Hui walked up and glanced at her. Although Marguerite was wearing a hospital gown, her swollen chest and lower abdomen held up the loose clothes. I dare not say that she is sexy, but she is definitely a woman who is about to give birth. What, you? Marguerite frowned. Chapter 2. You've exceeded your authority. Don't mind. Although I'm a man, I'm also a nurse. But. Marguerite had never let a man touch her body, especially a stranger. Miss Mar, there's no time to lose. If we delay any longer, the situation will be dangerous. Okay. Marguerite bit her lip and finally made a decision. Zhang Hui asked Marguerite to lie down flat, then unbuttoned a few buttons on her hospital gown and carefully took off a section of her pants. Marguerite's figure was indeed attractive, but her breasts and lower abdomen were exaggeratedly swollen at this time, as if several basketballs were stuffed in her chest and lower abdomen. This was not in harmony with her S-shaped figure at all. Marguerite was still a little shy after all. She covered her important parts with her hands, and her red cheeks drooped slightly, which added a bit of charm. Miss Mar, don't be nervous. Zhang Hui comforted her. Marguerite responded gently, but her hands were pressed more tightly against her body. In fact, Zhang Hui was also a little nervous. After all, this was the first time to use massage techniques to treat diseases. Zhang Hui, can you do it? What if something goes wrong? At this time, Li Jingjing grabbed his hand and shouted worriedly. Don't worry, Sister Jingjing, I will take responsibility if something goes wrong. Zhang Hui smiled and took her hand away. Zhang Hui looked at Marguerite and gently held her hand. After all, she had been a nurse for so long, and Zhang Hui's eyes made Marguerite relax a lot, and then she let go of her hand. Zhang Hui quickly took action, and his hands skillfully pressed regularly on her swollen area. Different from the massage techniques he used to give Li Jingjing before, Zhang Hui not only massaged the sides of Marguerite's chest and the center of her lower abdomen. At the same time, he increased the strength, and the massage technique was like a palm technique for practicing martial arts. The Zhang family has been practicing medicine for generations, and the only thing they rely on is this Jiushuan massage method. Cure all kinds of difficult and complicated diseases, especially gynecological diseases. Soon, Marguerite's face turned slightly red, and her breath became rapid. She had never felt such a massage before, and the comfortable feeling even made her a little intoxicated. Poof! With a loud fart, Marguerite's swollen area shrank instantly. So embarrassing. Marguerite never thought that she would be so embarrassed in public, and quickly pulled the quilt to cover her head. Li Jingjing was very surprised, leaned over, and asked curiously, Xiaohui, you are so amazing, how did you do it? Zhang Hui glanced at the white ravine exposed by Li Jingjing, smelled the faint body fragrance coming to his face, and smiled. I usually massage you, and figured it out myself. Go to hell, I don't believe what you say, little bad guy. Li Jingjing raised her red lips and stretched out a white and tender finger to poke his face. Miss Mar, I'm sorry, I'm late. Zhang Hui was about to speak, and suddenly Xinjing's voice came from the door. Xinjing had obviously just come back and hadn't had time to change her clothes. Wow! Did she go on a date? She was wearing a sexy blue low-necked short skirt, a pair of black silk legs and a pair of red high heels. With her tall breasts, slender waist, perky buttocks and a pair of unique white long legs, Xinjing is truly the most beautiful girl in the hospital. She is more cold and arrogant than Li Jingjing. She is usually serious and has more temperament, which makes her have more admirers than Li Jingjing. Dr. Shen, I'm fine. As soon as Xinjing walked forward, Marguerite sat up with a smile. Although the swelling subsided, the hospital gown was still held up high, and you can imagine the charming scenery inside. What, how did you get better? Xinjing also found that Marguerite's symptoms disappeared, and she was surprised. Li Jingjing walked up to her and said hurriedly, Dr. Shen, it's Xiaohui. He just used massage techniques. Zhang Hui, you are so bold that you dare to treat patients beyond your authority. Can you take responsibility if something happens? Shen Jing looked down on Zhang Hui, a male nurse. Now this guy treated her patients without authorization, which made her even more angry. Zhang Hui shrugged and said disapprovingly, Dr. Shen, the incident happened suddenly. If I take measures in time, the patient might. Shut up, this is not a reason. I tell you, this matter is not over, just wait for the punishment. Shen Jing's cold and beautiful face was full of clouds. Dr. Shen, why are you so angry? I see that your complexion is uneven and you have symptoms of chest tightness. Is your period abnormal in recent months? And there is a sharp pain in your lower abdomen like a needle. Zhang Hui walked up to her, sniffed the faint fragrance emanating from her body, and looked at the undulating beauty in front of him with a smirk. Shen Jing's face was filled with horror. Zhang Hui had said all right. She had been suffering from these unspeakable pains recently, and she couldn't find the cause. But she didn't want to admit it for the sake of face. She looked at Zhang Hui with contempt and said coldly, Nonsense, Mr. Zhang, you are just a stinky hooligan who sneaked into the nurses. What kind of doctor are you pretending to be? I tell you, I will definitely settle this account with you today. After saying this, she turned around and left. She has always been so cold and arrogant, and she puts on such an overbearing and aggressive posture to anyone. Looking at her twisting graceful figure, Zhang Hui really wanted to pounce on her and vent his anger. Damn, there are still such ungrateful people in the world who repay kindness with enmity. He deliberately raised his voice and shouted with a smile, Dr. Shen, your illness will be very serious if you delay it. But my massage technique can cure it. Let's make an appointment another day. Get out, you bastard, I won't let you touch me even if I die. Shen Jing's vicious voice came with the sound of heavy door slamming. Zhang Hui also knew that Shen Jing had a prejudice against him, and probably thought that he was a male nurse just to take advantage of her. Shen Jing was famous in the hospital for being ruthless, and she would keep her word. Zhang Hui didn't care on the surface, but he was worried all day, but he didn't wait for the revenge of this female devil. Late at night, Zhang Hui had just finished his rounds and returned to the lounge, and saw Song Mai changing clothes. Song Mai was recognized as a nurse with a baby face and big breasts in the hospital. She had a baby face of 17 or 18 years old, but she had a sexy and hot body that looked down on the hospital. Her hot body with protruding front and back made people feel itchy. Zhang Hui, you are so annoying. Why didn't you knock before you came in? Song Mai made a charming voice. At this time, she was struggling to wear a slim short skirt that was almost bursting. Why knock on the door? I'm not an outsider. Zhang Hui knew it was a joke. Come, help me zip up. Song Mai walked to Zhang Hui. Chapter 3: The Unspeakable Secret of the Female Director. Like other nurses, Song Mai also treated Zhang Hui as an outsider. Zhang Hui gently zipped up her skirt, and then patted her round buttocks supported by the skirt. Mai, your figure has developed again. Did you ask a patient to massage you? Bad guy, I think you are in the limelight today because of your massage. Song Mai turned her head and smiled, and the pride on her chest trembled. But Zhang Hui didn't have the heart to appreciate this beautiful scenery, and couldn't help sighing. It seems that everyone knows it now. Shen Jing is so face-conscious that she will definitely not let him go if she is robbed of the limelight. Just thinking about it, Shen Jing suddenly called. When Zhang Hui answered the phone, he heard Shen Jing's cold voice, "Come to my office." She hung up after that. Oh no, Zhang Hui, Dr. Shen is on night duty today. It seems that you will be tortured by her tonight. Song Mai smiled gloatingly. What is coming will come. Zhang Hui rolled his eyes at Song Mai, Snake Mai, don't be so proud. Wait until I come back and see how I torture you. He suddenly patted her on the towering chest and turned away. Stop right there, you big bad guy. Song Mai stamped her feet in anger. However, a faint blush soon appeared on her face. In the middle of the night, being summoned to the office by this beautiful director really makes people feel excited. However, standing in front of Shen Jing, Zhang Hui was still a little nervous. Shen Jing in front of him, wearing a white coat, sitting on the boss chair with her legs crossed. The tight skirt outlined the S-shaped figure, and the snow-white long legs were very eye-catching. But Shen Jing's charming cheeks were tense, as if she was ready to get angry at any time. Zhang Hui commented on her figure in his heart, but asked respectfully, "Dr. Shen, what do you want to see me about?" Although Zhang Hui was not afraid of Shen Jing's revenge, he did not want to offend her. It is better not to provoke such a tigress. Shen Jing glanced at him, her sexy red lips slightly curled, and said arrogantly and coldly, "Mr. Zhang, what kind of massage technique did you use to treat Marguerite today? Can it really treat various difficult and complicated diseases?" Zhang Hui walked closer to her, pulled a chair and sat down, sniffing the intoxicating body fragrance, and said with a smile, "Dr. Shen, if you are really interested, I will tell you in detail." Shen Jing rolled her eyes at him and said coldly, "Nonsense, who is interested? I just asked casually." Zhang Hui felt funny. Shen Jing was just saying one thing and thinking another, but she couldn't let go of her high and mighty frame. Zhang Hui smiled, nodded and said, "In that case, I can choose not to say anything." "You?" Shen Jing was so angry that she almost got angry, but she still held back. She had long been disgusted with this presumptuous male nurse, but now was not the time to be angry, and she had something to ask him. Shen Jing took a deep breath, and her chest rose and fell sharply. The moving fluctuations made Zhang Hui feel as if he was teased by something. Are you telling the truth today?" Shen Jing bit her lip and said hesitantly, with an unnatural look on her face. "That sentence, did I say too much?" Zhang Hui had guessed it, but pretended to be confused. "That sentence." Shen Jing seemed a little ashamed and angry, and quickly lowered her head. Zhang Hui touched his head and said with a smile, "Dr. Shen, what sentence did you say?" "You bastard, stop pretending to be confused. That is to say, it can cure my disease." Shen Jing glared at Zhang Hui fiercely and said reluctantly. Zhang Hui held back his laughter and said seriously, "Of course it's true. As long as I massage you a few times, I guarantee that your disease will be cured." Although it was the first time to use massage techniques to treat a patient today, the effect was immediate. Zhang Hui was also full of confidence, and Shen Jing's little problem was naturally no problem. Shen Jing blinked her charming eyes and asked with a tangled face, specifically, "Where do you want to massage?" Zhang Hui pointed at his body and said in a serious manner, "Mainly the chest, lower abdomen, waist, and thighs. These parts are distributed with the mysterious 7 orifices of the human body. Zhang Hui stimulates these acupuncture points through special massage methods to achieve the effect of curing diseases." "What, that doesn't mean that I will touch your whole body?" Shen Jing frowned and looked at him, hesitating for a few seconds. "You treat me." Zhang Hui had expected it long ago, got up and walked around behind the desk, stood next to Shen Jing, and said with a smile, "Dr. Shen, then I won't be polite." "What nonsense, hurry up." Shen Jing had closed her eyes, holding the armrests tightly with both hands, looking like she was ready to be slaughtered. Zhang Hui looked at Shen Jing and couldn't help but think of the heroine in the Japanese action movie who was also dressed in a doctor's uniform, arrogant but sexy and mature. He was a little nervous, probably the first man who could make Shen Jing willingly touch his body. He slid his hands down Shen Jing's shoulders and soon stopped massaging regularly. Soon, he went all the way down to massage their waist and abdomen. Shen Jing's figure is really first class. Zhang Hui couldn't let go of her several times and almost couldn't help it. Shen Jing was very nervous at first and was full of resistance to Zhang Hui. But she soon relaxed. Zhang Hui's massage made her experience a kind of comfort she had never experienced before. "Now it's the legs." Zhang Hui squatted in front of Shen Jing, put his hands on this pair of snow-white long legs, and massaged them carefully. "I don't know how many men have been fascinated by this pair of long legs, but now I let them touch me." Thinking about it, Zhang Hui couldn't help but sigh. "Dr. Shen, good evening." Suddenly, the office door opened and Zhao Detsai walked in. Yes, it's Dr. Zhao." Shen Jing sat up as if she had been electrocuted, and instinctively slid forward a chair. Zhang Hui was pushed by the pair of beautiful legs and got under the desk. Chapter 4: Zhao Detsai's Conspiracy. Zhao Detsai is one of the attending doctors in the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology. He is also a well-educated man who is said to be a top student of Cambridge Medical School in the UK. He doesn't look good, but he wears gold-rimmed glasses to pretend to be a cultured person. He likes to show off. This guy is very lustful. Many beautiful female nurses and doctors in the hospital have been slept with by him. But the person Zhao Detsai wants to get on the bed the most is Xinjing. He drank a little tonight and took a lot of stimulants in the nightclub. He came to Xinjing with a lot of anger. It was late at night and it was a good time to do things. If Xinjing resisted and forced herself, I'm afraid few people would know. The most aggrieved person now is Zhang Hui, who was pushed into the small space under the desk by Xinjing's legs. His face was almost pressed against these smooth and delicate legs, and he could even feel the faint heat wafting from the legs. Zhang Hui also understood that if Zhao Detsai found out just now, the two of them would never be able to clear themselves even if they jumped into the Yellow River. He knew Zhao Detsai well, and this bastard would not leave for a while. He simply put his hands on her legs and leaned his head on them. Xinjing tried hard to get away from him, and her legs shook a few times. As a result, instead of pushing him away, Zhang Hui's head slid in directly. Xinjing couldn't help but scream, and her legs instinctively closed together. Zhao Detsai just came over and was thinking about how to start, but was startled by Xinjing. "Dr. Shen, what's wrong with you?" Just now, there was a cockroach on the ground." Xinjing lied a lie that she herself would not believe. Zhao Detsai was overjoyed, and was worried that he could not find a chance to get close to her, so he hurriedly said, "Let me see where it is." He immediately went around to Xinjing and was about to bend down, but was pushed away by Xinjing. "Dr. Zhao, the cockroach has run away, you should sit back." Zhao Detsai responded very reluctantly, and sat down opposite Xinjing. After all this, Zhang Hui's face was clamped tighter. He felt like he was about to suffocate, and tried hard to push Xinjing's legs away, but she clamped them tighter and tighter. Zhang Hui was panting heavily because of this, and a stream of heat kept coming. Xinjing suddenly felt as if countless ants were quickly crawling up from below, and a strange feeling surged in her bones. Her face flushed, her body twisted slightly, and she almost couldn't sit still several times. Zhao Detsai was not a fool, and he also saw that Xinjing was a little strange. "Dr. Shen, are you sick? Your face looks so bad." No. Xinjing said unnaturally, "Dr. Zhao, you drank a lot of wine. It's getting late, you should go back and rest early." "It's okay, Dr. Shen, I'm fine to go back, I'll stay with you." Zhao Detsai smiled shyly and came over. His squinting eyes glanced at Xinjing's towering chest, and almost fell out. Xinjing frowned slightly and said unhappily, "No, Dr. Zhao, I can handle it myself." Zhao Detsai still had a shameless face and had no intention of leaving. He adjusted his glasses and smiled, "Dr. Shen, I have 2 movie tickets here. Let's go to see it together after get off work tomorrow." Xinjing had nothing good to say and rejected him directly without mercy. "Dr. Zhao, I'm not in the mood. Go find someone else." Zhao Detsai still didn't give up and said, "Dr. Shen, are you still angry about Zhang Hui treating your patient without your permission? This guy doesn't take us doctors seriously." "Don't worry, I'll vent your anger for you." "Dr. Zhao, don't mess around," Xinjing said with some concern. Zhao Detsai is a well-known sinister villain in the hospital who likes to calculate people secretly. Moreover, he also knows many people of questionable character in society. Zhao Detsai narrowed his eyes and smiled sinisterly, "Don't worry, Dr. Zhao, nothing will happen." Although Zhang Hui was uncomfortable being clamped, he heard these words clearly. He had already cursed Zhao Detsai for his ancestors dozens of times. Zhang Hui was also very clear about Zhao Detsai's methods, but he was not afraid of him at all. In fact, he didn't even take him seriously. He was now entangled with Xinjing in a very indecent way, and it was very uncomfortable. What's more terrible is that as long as he moved a little, Xinjing would misunderstand that he wanted to break free, so she would clamp him tightly with her legs even harder. Now only Zhao Detsai got out, Xinjing might let him out. But this bastard was in a posture of not leaving. He sat there shamelessly, talking nonsense, and took the opportunity to come forward and touch Xinjing. Zhao Detsai found that Xinjing was not as resistant to him as usual, and it seemed that there was a way tonight. He stood up and walked around Xinjing, smiling and saying, "Dr. Shen, I think you seem to be feeling uncomfortable. Let me check you." Xinjing wanted to refuse, but Zhao Detsai had already reached out his hand to attack her chest. Zhang Hui, who was under the table, also saw this scene with his peripheral vision. "You want to take advantage of Dr. Shen? Dream on." Zhang Hui had a wicked smile on his lips, and suddenly stretched out his hand and quickly pressed Zhao Detsai's lower abdomen. Zhao Detsai didn't notice it at all, but soon he covered his stomach and shouted in panic, "Ouch, Dr. Shen, I'm going out for a while." He almost staggered out, and just as he ran out of the door, he farted loudly. What's more terrible is that there was a big wet spot on his butt. Zhao Dezai was so ashamed and angry that he ran away without looking back. Shenjing couldn't help but smile when she saw this scene. "Dr. Shen, are you planning to suffocate me to death?" Zhang Hui's voice below brought Shenjing back to her senses. She hurriedly opened her legs and let Zhang Hui out. Zhang Hui took a few deep breaths, looked at the embarrassed Shenjing, and smiled. "Dr. Shen, I didn't expect your legs to be so strong. Get lost." Shenjing had never encountered such an embarrassing situation before, and she was so ashamed that she wanted to dig a hole and crawl into it. "I just helped you out, and you chased me away." Zhang Hui shook his head and walked towards the door. Shenjing was a little surprised and looked at him in surprise. "What, you did Zhao Dezai pull his pants?" "Otherwise," Zhang Hui said lightly without turning his head. "Zhang Hui, if you dare to tell others about what happened tonight, I will make you pay for it." Zhang Hui just walked to the door, and Shenjing's vicious threat came from behind him. Zhang Hui turned his head and smiled at her. "I won't tell you, Dr. Shen. But I will tell everyone that Dr. Shen has a special liking for pink." "Go to hell, you bastard!" Shenjing cursed fiercely. You know, the underwear she was wearing was pink, and she was just, by this bastard. She was so angry that she grabbed a folder and threw it towards the door. But Zhang Hui ran away. Chapter 5. Who is the murderer of poisoning? After working a night shift, Zhang Hui only slept for a whole afternoon, and got up early to get busy in the kitchen. He had to prepare lunch for Li Jingjing and Song Maimai, who lived in the same dormitory. The dormitories in the hospital are distributed according to departments. Zhang Hui is a nurse in the obstetrics and gynecology department, so naturally he was assigned to a nurse. This is not a good thing. Not only do the three of them sleep in a room, but Zhang Hui also has to serve Li Jingjing and Song Maimai. Not only did he take care of the housework of cooking and sweeping the floor, but he also had to wash their clothes. Sometimes, even underwear had to be washed by him. Zhang Hui served the meal to the table, and the two came out of the room. The two wore disheveled thin pajamas, and their graceful figures were looming as they walked. Zhang Hui glanced at the beautiful figure, and a surge of blood rushed up. My God, he almost had a nosebleed. The two had noticed Zhang Hui's strange look, but they had gotten used to it. Waking up every day and having a man excited about it was good news that proved that they were full of charm. "Sister Jingjing, Maimai, hurry up and wash up and eat." Song Maimai yawned, stretched her waist and walked to Zhang Hui, saying, "Yes, the dean and the director will come to visit Mar Guifan together in the afternoon. We can't make any mistakes, otherwise the head nurse will definitely punish us severely." Zhang Hui reached out and patted the elastic buttocks, and said with a smile, "Maimai, is the head nurse going to spank you?" Damn Zhang Hui, you bad guy." Song Maimai said shyly and turned away. Li Jingjing gave him a charming smile and said, "Xiaohui, you bad guy, haven't you been taught a lesson by Dr. Shen last night?" Zhang Hui stepped forward and leaned against Li Jingjing, sniffing the faint fragrance on her body, and smiled mischievously. "You are right, Sister Jingjing, so I am waiting for you to teach me a lesson." As he said, he touched her proud snow-white long legs with one hand. You little bad guy, I think you should let Dr. Shen teach you a lesson." Li Jingjing was very cunning, and she opened Zhang Hui's hand with force and cleverly avoided it. Zhang Hui had bad thoughts about Li Jingjing more than once, but Li Jingjing could always see through his mind. Avoid him at critical moments and always keep a distance from him. Zhang Hui also knew that women like Li Jingjing's mind were all on those tall, rich and handsome men, but they were not very interested in him, a little male nurse. Not long after, two people came over in snow-white nurse uniforms, with beautiful white legs and charming figures. Zhang Hui couldn't help but sigh, he would be eaten alive by them sooner or later. The three of them ate quickly and didn't dare to delay. Mar Guifan was a special patient in the hospital. She was the general manager of a pharmaceutical company responsible for sales and had close strategic cooperation with Dongjiang People's Hospital. Moreover, her father was the deputy director of the Municipal Health Bureau. It was precisely because of this that this patient was taken seriously. Not only was she taken care of by Shenjing, the gold medal attending physician of the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, but she also enjoyed very high-end all-weather services. Therefore, the dean and the director of the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology would personally condescend to visit her. As soon as the three arrived at the door of the ward, they saw a mess inside. Several people shouted, "Hurry up and put on the ventilator, she has signs of respiratory failure." Zhang Hui saw clearly that Marguerite was pale and twitching on the bed. That sign showed that her life was in danger at any time. He rushed in quickly, and just as he squeezed in front, Zhao Detsai grabbed his collar and scolded him fiercely, "Zhang Hui, you dare to come here? It was you who treated Miss Ma without authorization yesterday, and now there is a problem." Shenjing concentrated and said coldly, "Dr. Zhao, the problem has not been figured out yet. Why do you put the responsibility on Zhang Hui? Does this need to be said? The matter is already very clear. Dr. Shen, you have to understand." Zhao Detsai said, winking at Shenjing. As if hinting to her, "I am helping you to shirk responsibility, you have to understand." Shenjing didn't buy it, snorted coldly, and said, "Without evidence, I won't agree." Zhang Hui opened Zhao Detsai's hand, glanced at him and said, "Dr. Zhao is talking nonsense. Miss Ma is not seriously injured, I just need to treat her and she will be fine. Xiao Zhang, this is not a joke." The dean glanced at him and said sternly, "I'm not kidding. If something really happens, I will take full responsibility." "Okay, that's what you said." Zhao Detsai smiled grimly, which was exactly what he wanted. Zhang Hui immediately stepped forward and used the same massage technique to quickly treat Marguerite. A few minutes later, Marguerite coughed and gradually regained consciousness. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief and praised Zhang Hui. Only Zhao Detsai looked pale. Zhang Hui glanced at him and said, "Miss Ma's condition recurred because someone secretly injected her with the powerful tranquilizer chlorpromazine, which caused her to show abnormalities and even signs of organ failure. Dr. Zhao, do you think we can find the murderer if we investigate carefully?" Zhao Detsai was pale and hesitantly said, "The murderer must have escaped. I don't think it's necessary to investigate. Where is the bastard who harmed our general manager Mar? Get out of here." With a bang, the door of the ward was kicked open, and a group of vicious thugs led by a young man rushed in. Chapter 6: The person who took the blame. The young man was about 27 or 28 years old, fair-skinned, but very arrogant. This man was called Chen Guang, the deputy manager of Marguerite's sales department. At the same time, he was also the main person in charge of pharmaceutical sales with Shanghai People's Hospital. The leaders, including the dean, greeted him politely, but Chen Guang ignored them. After all, this man was Marguerite's subordinate. He was bullying the dean, and the dean and others didn't dare to say anything. Zhao Detsai's mind turned quickly, and he glanced at Zhang Hui and said, "Manager Chen, Zhang Hui didn't mean it, calm down." If you say Zhao Detsai is insidious enough, he deliberately told him that the person who harmed Marguerite was Zhang Hui. Sure enough, Chen Guang stepped forward and punched Zhang Hui hard without saying anything. Zhang Hui turned around and dodged his attack. Chen Guang glanced at the thugs behind him and cursed, "Are you all fucking candlesticks? Kill him." Those men showed their vicious faces and rushed towards Zhang Hui. "Stop, what are you doing?" Marguerite stood up from the bed and quickly walked to Zhang Hui. All of them stopped and looked at Chen Guang in confusion. Chen Guang looked at Marguerite in surprise and shouted in surprise, "Boss Mar, you, how could you?" "Chen Guang, seeing that I am safe and sound, are you surprised or disappointed?" Marguerite stared at him and said, No, I am surprised." Chen Guang said flatteringly. Marguerite turned her head and looked at Zhang Hui, saying, "I'm out of danger, thanks to Zhang Hui." Zhang Hui smiled modestly and said lightly, "Miss Mar, you're too polite. This is all thanks to Dr. Shen's diagnosis and treatment. I just took good care of you." Marguerite looked at Shenjing and said with a smile, "Thank you, Dr. Shen. When I'm discharged, I will definitely thank you and Zhang Hui." Shenjing hurriedly declined. In fact, she knew very well that the credit for treating Marguerite belonged to Zhang Hui, and had nothing to do with her. Zhang Hui looked at Marguerite and said, "Miss Mar, I just checked you. Your pregnancy syndrome has been completely cured, and you can go through the discharge procedures today." "Really, Zhang Hui, did I hear it right?" Marguerite was perhaps too excited, and couldn't help but hug Zhang Hui. This unspeakable disease has troubled her for many years, and she thought she would spend her life in the ridicule of others. But, unexpectedly, Zhang Hui felt the softness, and his heart was filled with ripples. "Boss Mar, Chen Guang only finished half of his words. He was surprised that Marguerite was so close to this male nurse. Of course, Marguerite herself did not realize that after being taken care of by Zhang Hui for a long time, she had no longer been alienated from him, and she completely treated him as a close family member. Marguerite was then escorted out of the hospital by Chen Guang. The dean and other leaders personally saw her off. In the lounge, Zhang Hui has now become a popular figure. He sits on a chair, and several nurses serve him enthusiastically, calling him Brother Hui. With her soft jade and warm fragrance, and her sweet voice, Zhang Hui was really a little swollen for a moment. Everyone saw the magic of Zhang Hui's massage technique, and offered themselves to him to diagnose and treat their diseases. TSK, facing so many charming and sexy beauties, which one should we start with? Choosing is really a headache. Xiaohui, the director wants you to go to her office. Someone called out at the door. Xiaohui, you've made a fortune this time, the director will definitely reward you. Xiaohui, you have to treat us to dinner tonight. Several nurses cast envious looks at Zhang Hui, and some even flirted with him. Zhang Hui stood up and touched them all over without hesitation, grinning, the director really rewarded me. Not to mention treating me to dinner, I can even treat you to health care. Amid the screams of the nurses, Zhang Hui left happily. Entering the director's office, Zhang Hui suddenly realized that the atmosphere was a little wrong. The director had a serious face, and in front of his desk, Shenjing, Zhao Detsai, the head nurse, and Li Jingjing all looked very ugly. Director, you're looking for me. Zhang Hui said carefully. The director looked up at him and said, Zhang Hui, someone secretly injected Miss Ma with a strong chlorpromazine last night, which has been banned. You and Li Jingjing were on duty last night. What do you have to say about this omission? It seems that the director has already investigated something. Zhang Hui thought for a while and said, Director, the responsibility is mainly on me, and it has nothing to do with Jingjing. However, I have obtained some evidence. If you give me some time, I will definitely catch the culprit. Li Jingjing was looking uneasy. After hearing what Zhang Hui said, she couldn't help but look at him with gratitude. Zhao Detsai coughed dryly and interrupted, Director, this has happened. The culprit must have been prepared. If we investigate, it will inevitably cause panic. I think it is better to punish the person who neglected his duty, so that he will remember it. The director responded and said, Zhang Hui, deduct half a month's salary from you, and punish you to work night shifts this month. Looking at Zhao Detsai's smug look, Zhang Hui knew very well that it was all his fault. Zhao Detsai said he would deal with him last night, but he did it so soon. Marguerite went back and sent Shenjing a banner, which was highly praised by the director. He even hinted that he would recommend her to be the deputy director. Zhang Hui came out of the director's office and didn't walk far when he heard Zhao Detsai's call from behind. Chapter 7, Treating Guests to Dinner. Dr. Zhao, what's the matter? Zhang Hui looked at him and smiled. Zhao Detsai also smiled insincerely and said, Zhang Hui, in our obstetrics and gynecology department, if you want to be safe, you have to be smart. Otherwise, you may accidentally step on dog shit and fall down without knowing what happened. This was clearly a warning. Zhang Hui glanced at him and said, Dr. Zhao, don't say it. I don't know which vicious dog pooped all their way in the corridor last night, and I almost stepped on it. Zhao Detsai's face changed drastically. He knew that Zhang Hui must have seen him poop in his crotch. But he couldn't say it directly, so he could only bite the bullet and say, You better be smart, brat, otherwise I'll make you die without knowing how. Then he left in a huff. Looking at his back, Zhang Hui cursed secretly, Zhao Detsai, you made me get punished, do you really think I'm a soft persimmon? A barely perceptible expression of horror swept across Zhang Hui's face. He had never had such an expression before. This was because no one had ever dared to offend or plot against him. Xiaohui, thank you for taking all the responsibilities from the director. As soon as Zhang Hui returned to the lounge, Li Jingjing came up and said sincerely. In fact, the time period when Marguerite was secretly injected with chlorpromazine was exactly the time when Li Jingjing was responsible. Zhang Hui smiled indifferently, Sister Jingjing, I don't care about this verbal thanks, show me something substantial. Let Jingjing give you a bath. A nurse on the side said. Go, what are you talking about? Li Jingjing scolded the nurse, then smiled at Zhang Hui and said, How about this, I'll treat you to dinner tonight. Zhang Hui laughed dumbly. Sister Jingjing, I was fined half a month's salary and I have a day off, you treat me to dinner. Li Jingjing stretched out a finger and poked him hard on the face, and smiled softly. You little bad guy, don't push your luck. Except for you, I haven't taken the initiative to invite any man to dinner. Zhang Hui said with a smile. Okay, Sister Jingjing, then I will perform well tonight and won't let you down. As he said that, he reached out and patted her shoulder. Li Jingjing was prepared and turned away, but Zhang Hui's other hand was prepared and patted the nurse's buttocks that were held up high by the nurse's uniform. Damn Xiaohui, do you want to die? Li Jingjing shook her pink fist, as if she was going to hit him. Zhang Hui put the hand to his mouth and sniffed it, grinning. Sister Jingjing's butt feels good. If you sit on it to death, I will die with my eyes closed. You, stinky hooligan. Li Jingjing was not angry, but just laughed. She didn't know why she was not angry at all. If another man was so frivolous to her, let alone angry, she would have wanted to fight for her. How many men dream of having dinner with Li Jingjing? After accompanying Shenjing to the wards in charge and doing routine inspections, Zhang Hui was about to leave when Shenjing called him. He muttered to himself, damn, are you going to trouble me again? Dr. Shen, what's the matter? Shenjing's eyes were a little flustered, biting her lips and hesitating for a while before saying, Zhang Hui, are you free tonight? I'll treat you to dinner. Zhang Hui thought he had heard it wrong. Shenjing actually treated him to dinner. This woman can be said to be insulated from men. Not to mention eating, she rarely goes out with a man alone. Why are you inviting me to dinner, Dr. Shen? There must be a reason. Zhang Hui deliberately pretended to be cool and put on airs. It's just a meal. What reason can there be? Are you going or not? If you don't want to go, forget it. Just ignore what I said. Shenjing said coldly and turned away. Is this a dinner invitation? How can you be so arrogant? In fact, Shenjing wanted to thank him for giving her the credit for treating Marguerite, but she was so proud that she couldn't bring herself to invite a male subordinate. When he got off work, Zhang Hui was dressed up and met the sexy and charming Li Jingjing at the door of the lounge. Zhang Hui was secretly happy. He really made a profit this time. But Li Jingjing immediately stepped forward, holding his hand tightly, and shouted anxiously, Xiaohui, help me. Zhang Hui was stunned and asked quickly, Sister Jingjing, what happened? Li Jingjing said, the director gave me a death order to accompany Chen Guang for dinner tonight. Otherwise, I will. Before she finished her words, tears flowed from the corners of her eyes. Damn it, Chen Guang must have put pressure on the hospital. The director received a lot of benefits from them, let alone letting Li Jingjing accompany him for dinner. Even accompanying Chen Guang to bed would not be a problem. Zhang Hui gently stroked her shoulders and said, Sister Jingjing, don't be afraid, I'll go with you tonight. Li Jingjing blinked her charming eyes, and squeezed out a charming smile from her sexy red lips. Xiaohui, I knew you would definitely help me. Zhang Hui reached out and quietly hugged her waist, feeling her slender waist, and said with a smile, Sister Jingjing, then you can't send me away with just one meal. Humph, you little bad guy. Li Jingjing suddenly felt a little shy, curled her lips, and punched Zhang Hui's chest with her fist. But she didn't push Zhang Hui's hand away. Chapter 8 We are a couple. In a high-end restaurant, Chen Guang sat there in a well-dressed manner. He was on the phone, and on the other end of the phone was Zhao Dicai. There has always been a secret deal between Zhao Dicai and Chen Guang. Many drugs used in the obstetrics and gynecology department were purchased by Zhao Dicai in contact with Chen Guang's company. But many drugs are not only useless, but there are even many expired drugs. But Chen Guang and Zhao Dicai don't care about these. The two of them secretly made a lot of benefits. As a community of interests, the relationship is naturally much closer. Chen Guang went to the hospital today and fell in love with Li Jingjing. He wanted to seduce her out, but Li Jingjing didn't fall for his tricks at all. It was Zhao Dicai who gave him a shady trick, using the pressure of their company to let the director of the obstetrics and gynecology department force Li Jingjing to accept his invitation. Chen Guang and Zhao Dicai chatted for a few words, and after hanging up the phone, he stared closely at a glass filled with wine in front of his eyes. In it was the knockout drug given to him by Zhao Dicai, which was obtained by Zhao Dicai's friends in the nightclub. It is said that the effect is very strong, and it can instantly turn a chaste woman into a coquettish Panjinian. Li Jingjing, I'm going to give you a good beating tonight. Chen Guang showed a lewd smile on his face. Manager Chen, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting for so long. Li Jingjing came to the table and smiled at Chen Guang apologetically. Chen Guang blinked his eyes and looked at Li Jingjing wantonly. She was really dazzling. Her tall and well-proportioned figure was outlined by the sexy deep V short skirt, revealing a seductive temperament. Especially the high chest and the eye-catching white long legs, Chen Guang almost wanted to touch them impulsively. Damn, Li Jingjing's figure is really ecstasy, it's worth dying on her tonight. It's okay, Jingjing, please sit down quickly. Chen Guang hurriedly got up, pulled out the chair opposite, and took the opportunity to pull her hand and sit down. This bastard is a veteran of the entertainment industry, so he naturally won't miss any opportunity to take advantage of others. Li Jingjing was being polite, but she gently took Chen Guang's hand away and deliberately distanced herself from him. Chen Guang was not in a hurry. After she drank their wine, he still had the final say. He turned around and was about to sit back down when suddenly a figure flashed over and sat in his seat at a very fast speed. Zhang Hui, why are you here? Chen Guang looked at Zhang Hui with some surprise and shouted in surprise. Zhang Hui crossed his legs, took Chen Guang's wine, took a sip, and smiled. Manager Chen invited my girlfriend to dinner, and I came here to eat. Manager Chen, you don't object, right? Chen Guang looked at Zhang Hui and wanted to strangle him to death. But he knew he couldn't get angry at this time. He snorted and said coldly, no objection. In that case, don't be polite, sit down quickly. Hey, waiter, bring a few more of your most expensive dishes. Zhang Hui greeted in a serious manner. Chen Guang was so angry, damn, I'm treating you, how can you be the host? What's more annoying is that this kid ordered so many expensive dishes, but didn't give him tableware. Zhang Hui ate without courtesy, and picked up food for Li Jingjing from time to time. It's okay that they show their affection, but what's more hateful is that this guy actually looked at Chen Guang unexpectedly and asked, Manager Chen, don't just sit there, eat quickly. Damn, do you want me to pick up food with my hands? Chen Guang glared at Zhang Hui fiercely, suppressed his anger, and ordered another set of tableware. Manager Chen, thank you for treating us to dinner tonight. This glass of wine, I toast you. Li Jingjing held the wine and smiled at Chen Guang. Chen Guang smiled and said quickly, you're welcome. Jingjing is here to give me face. Come on, let's have a toast. He also raised his glass. However, his eyes were fixed on the wine that Li Jingjing slowly brought to her lips. Wait for you to drink it, and then I'll ask someone to deal with Zhang Hui. Wait, Jingjing, my wine tastes more suitable for you, you drink mine. Suddenly, Zhang Hui stood up and exchanged wine with Li Jingjing without saying anything. Chen Guang looked at the wine being replaced with eager eyes, and he was so angry that he really wanted to punch Zhang Hui hard. Forget it, I'll knock you over first. Chen Guang said with a smile, I didn't expect Zhang Hui to be so considerate. That's right, if I don't treat Jingjing well, I'm afraid I'll be coaxed away by some bastard men. Zhang Hui stared at him and said. Chen Guang was a little embarrassed and smiled unnaturally. Mr. Zhang is really good at joking. Come on, let's drink. Zhang Hui responded and brought the wine to his mouth. Chen Guang was delighted and shouted silently, drink it quickly, give it to me quickly. A sneeze. At the critical moment, Zhang Hui sneezed. A glass of wine sprayed directly on Chen Guang's face. Asshole, what the hell are you doing, are you looking for death? Chen Guang was angry and wiped the wine on his face hastily. He slapped the table hard and stood up. Zhang Hui was clearly here to make trouble, maybe he already knew that there was something wrong with the wine. Zhang Hui kicked the chair away and said with a smile, Oh, Manager Chen, I'm sorry, I lost my temper. Thank you for treating us tonight, we are full. Jingjing, let's go. Li Jingjing followed Zhang Hui and walked out quickly. Want to leave, who the hell do you think I am? Chen Guang's face was gloomy, and he took out his phone, you guys, get out and kill that Zhang. Thanks to all readers for their support, readers who like it can join group 5302 for 1050. Chapter 9 Subtle Changes. Zhang Hui dragged Li Jingjing out of the restaurant, and not far away, several men in black rushed over. Li Jingjing had a premonition that something was wrong, and she approached Zhang Hui nervously, almost crying, Xiaohui, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Zhang Hui put his arm around her waist and stroked the back of her perky buttocks, smiling slowly, Sister Jingjing, what's the matter with implicate? You are my girlfriend, and it's my responsibility to protect you. Li Jingjing had never been touched so sensitive by a man before. She didn't resist, but she was a little shy, and her heartbeat accelerated. She clenched her fist and hit Zhang Hui, saying coquettishly, "Little Hui, it's already this hour, and you still have the heart to joke." Zhang Hui gave her a wicked smile, left her and went to meet those people. The Zhang family's 9 mysterious massage method is not only used for medical treatment, but also has a more terrifying function. Zhang Hui narrowed his eyes slightly, scanning those who rushed with machetes, and his expression added a bit of death-like horror. "Today, I can use you guys to try out the 9 mysterious massage methods beating effect." Zhang Hui rushed forward calmly and swiftly dodged the swinging machete. At the same time, he pressed their abdomens without losing any time. The speed was extremely fast, like a dragonfly touching the water. There is an acupuncture point called Xiaohui Shui in this area. If pressure is applied in a special way, it will cause the blood and qi to flow backwards, and then the whole body will be in unbearable pain as if bitten by countless poisonous insects. Zhang Hui shuttled through them as fast as lightning, just like passing through flowers. Then he clapped his hands, and those people fell to the ground almost at the same time, curled up, and screamed in pain with hideous faces. Chen Guang, who was standing in the distance watching this scene, was pale and his body trembled uncontrollably. "Xiaohui, are you okay?" Li Jingjing hurried to Zhang Hui's side, pulled his arm, and asked worriedly while checking. Zhang Hui stretched out his hand and pulled her into his arms, put his face in front of her, almost touching her plump red lips, and smiled evilly. "Sister Jingjing, you are quite concerned about me. He, do you like me? Go away, I don't like you, a lecherous little bad guy." Li Jingjing raised the corner of her mouth and drew out a soul-stirring smile. She shyly turned her face away and didn't look at Zhang Hui. It was really pitiful. Zhang Hui suddenly had an impulse and couldn't help but come over and put his mouth close to Li Jingjing. Li Jingjing seemed to feel it too. Her cheeks were even redder, and her eyes were slightly closed. It was as if the flowers were ripe and waiting for you to pick them. She was moved by me. Zhang Hui was happy. "My little Jinian, we are a pair. I am your brother Qing, don't ignore me." Suddenly, the hateful mobile phone rang. "Who is so ignorant to call me at this time?" Zhang Hui was extremely annoyed, but he still opened the phone. It was Shenjing. He didn't dare to neglect it and quickly answered it. "Zhang Hui, come and save me." Shenjing's voice was weak and feeble on the other end of the phone. "Dr. Shen, what's wrong with you?" Zhang Hui asked nervously. I was drugged by the beast Zhao Dicai. He's taking a shower and will come soon." "What, Dr. Shen, which hotel are you in?" "Hey, Xiaohui, you and Dr. Shen have a special relationship. When he's in trouble, he thinks of you first." Li Jingjing looked at Zhang Hui and asked sourly just after hanging up the phone. Zhang Hui didn't expect Shenjing to call him. "You know, this woman hates him to death." He quietly stroked Li Jingjing's soft waist and smiled evilly. "What's wrong, Sister Jingjing, are you jealous? Get out, go save your Dr. Shen." Li Jingjing pouted and pushed him away. "Okay, Sister Jingjing, go back quickly." Zhang Hui responded and ran away without looking back. "You bastard, you're really leaving." Li Jingjing shouted angrily, stamped her feet and turned away. Along the way, she kept cursing, "Damn Xiaohui, bad Xiaohui, go save your Dr. Shen, I don't care. Hey, why am I so angry?" Not long after walking, Li Jingjing realized why she was inexplicably angry. In a high-end room of Jinghua Hotel, Shenjing lay on the bed exhausted. Her face was ruddy, and she felt short of breath, and her body was hot and uncomfortable, as if countless ants were climbing on her body. Especially those sensitive places, itchy. "When watching a movie tonight, I drank the drink bought by Zhao Dicai and was completely out of control, and then he brought me here. Dr. Shen, wait, I will help you take a bath when I come out." Zhao Dicai's smug laughter came from the bathroom. "Asshole." Shenjing cursed weakly. Now, she didn't even have the strength to speak loudly. Shenjing looked at the door weakly. Now all her hopes were placed on Zhang Hui. But why didn't this bastard come over yet? "Xiao Jingjing, my little baby, I'm coming." At this time, the bathroom door opened, and Zhao Dicai was wrapped in a bath towel, like a white pig. He rubbed his hands excitedly and ran towards Shenjing quickly. Chapter 10. The first kiss is gone.
No, no, don't come over.
Shenjing frowned and struggled hard.
Don't be afraid, little Jingjing, do you know how long I have been thinking about you? Don't worry, I will be very gentle.
Zhao Dicai put on a lewd smile, suddenly pulled open the bath towel, and rushed directly to Shenjing. The room suddenly went dark.
Who is it?
Zhao Dicai screamed, but he couldn't say anything before he finished speaking. In the darkness, Shenjing just felt that someone was carrying her away. In a trance, she felt a hand wandering on her body, massaging her wantonly. A kind of unprecedented comfortable feeling surged from her bones like a tide. She was too shy to speak, but she couldn't bear to refuse this.
Dr. Shen, are you feeling better? Zhang Hui gently pushed Shenjing.
The massage technique just now was considered to suppress the medicinal properties of the medicine. However, to be honest, Shenjing's charming posture was too charming. When Zhang Hui was massaging her, blood rushed up several times and her nose almost bled. Shenjing was much more awake. When she opened her eyes, she found that she was hooked tightly around Zhang Hui's neck. She was a little embarrassed and quickly took her hand away. She said unnaturally, "Then, that Zhang Hui, are we out?" Zhang Hui chuckled, "Of course we are out."
"Then, what about Zhao Dicai, how is he?"
Shenjing couldn't help asking.
"He is having a great time now." Zhang Hui raised his mouth and smiled mischievously. When Zhang Hui rushed over, he spent 20 yuan to call an old streetwalker in his 50s.
These streetwalkers are old and ugly, and they mainly serve people in nursing homes who are unable to hold back. Even poor losers would rather solve it themselves than go to them.
Zhang Hui entered the hotel room and pressed the Xuanji Lingqiao acupoint on Zhao Dicai's waist.
The direct result is that Zhao Dicai is more excited than taking 10 boxes of Viagra. He will definitely spend this night in excitement and pain. Shenjing hurriedly pushed Zhang Hui away. "Put me down quickly, I want to go home."
"Hey, Dr. Shen.
The drug effect in your body has not been completely removed.
You can't leave. How about I take you home?"
But. Shenjing hesitated for a moment, showing some worry. Zhang Hui sighed, shook his head and said, "Dr. Shen, if I really want to do something to you, I won't remove the drug effect just now.
I don't even need to do anything, you take the initiative to seduce me."
Before he finished speaking, Zhang Hui was pinched hard on the chest by Shenjing.
"Shut up, you keep talking nonsense. Damn, I can't even tell the truth." Zhang Hui looked at Shenjing's embarrassed and cramped look and found it quite funny.
"Dr. Shen, why did you go out to watch a movie with a jerk like Zhao Dicai? Don't you know what a jerk like him is?"
"I didn't plan to go with him either. I was originally." "Never mind. Let's not talk about it."
Zhang Hui was stunned, then he leaned close to her and smiled. "Dr. Shen, if you want to invite me to dinner, show some sincerity." Zhang Hui was very close to her, his lips almost touching her plump and charming red lips. Shenjing also felt something, slightly separated from him, and said unhappily, "It's up to you to eat or not. There's no need to be so particular." Alas, it's still this bad temper.
Zhang Hui shook his head and asked in confusion, "Dr. Shen, why did you suddenly invite me to dinner?"
Shenjing hesitated, "No, nothing, you cured Marguerite, and the credit goes to me. But I don't like to take advantage of others, so I invite you to dinner."
"TSK, you want to send me away with a meal, you think I'm cheap?" Zhang Hui stared at her and smiled mischievously. "Dr. Shen, I saved you again tonight.
Since you don't like to take advantage of me, let me take advantage of you once."
"Zhang Hui, what did you say? Are you looking for death?"
Shenjing grabbed Zhang Hui's collar angrily, shaking her fist as if she was going to hit him. Zhang Hui was pulled by her, and his cheek moved forward instinctively. He also moved forward, and ended up kissing Shenjing's lips firmly.
"Zhang Hui, you bastard, are you looking for death?"
Shenjing was furious, this was her first kiss. She was proud of her noble character, and ordinary men were not in her eyes. Although so many men pursued her, no one had any intimate contact with her. Shenjing thought that the person who could make her willingly fall in love must be someone who could conquer her forcefully. But this person was definitely not a dirty and robed male nurse like Zhang Hui.
Zhang Hui looked innocent. "Dr. Shen, you pulled me just now, it has nothing to do with me."
In fact, he was happy in his heart. This woman who was completely insulated from men, he took away her first kiss tonight.
"Let me go, I will walk by myself."
Jing wanted to teach Zhang Hui a lesson, but she had no strength. She broke away from him and went on the road alone. But she stumbled after a few steps. Fortunately, Zhang Hui stepped forward in time and hugged her tightly. "Asshole, let me go." Jing was so ashamed and angry that she glared at Zhang Hui angrily, and a strange feeling that was hard to say came to her heart. I didn't mean it." Zhang Hui quickly took away his hand that accidentally touched her chest. It was an accident, definitely an accident. But Jing didn't believe it, pushed him away and walked away without looking back. After a few minutes, Jing suddenly turned her head and looked at him. "Why are you still standing there like an idiot? Take me home." Chapter 11. Return my things to me. Zhang Hui came to his senses and quickly came up to greet him with a grin. He knew that Jing couldn't go home alone, and there was no guarantee that some perverts would take advantage of her. The only person she could trust was him. She had no choice. Jing didn't know how she got home, and she was groggy all the way. When she woke up from the bed in the morning, she quickly pulled open the quilt to check. Fortunately, Zhang Hui, that bastard, didn't touch her, and she was relieved. "Dr. Shen, you're awake, the meal is ready, get up and eat quickly." At this time, the bedroom door opened, and Zhang Hui was holding a wet piece of clothing in his hand. "Zhang Hui, what are you holding in your hand?" Jing's eyes were fixed on the clothes in his hand. It was the high-end underwear she had just bought online. She only wore it and threw it in the bathroom. Zhang Hui grinned and said, "Dr. Shen, I saw it was thrown outside, so I washed it for you. However, the size is a bit big, and it will sag easily if you wear it for a long time." "Fuck you, you bastard, why don't you just die?" Jing was so ashamed and angry that she grabbed something and threw it at him. This bastard didn't leave last night, so it must be. Zhang Hui caught it casually and took it in his hand. It turned out to be a black T-shaped underwear. He took a sniff with great enjoyment, raised his mouth and smiled wickedly. "Wow, I didn't expect Dr. Shen to like wearing such a hot tea back. Hey, why is there a little blood in it? Is it my period?" "Fuck you, you pervert, get out of here." Jing was so ashamed that she wanted to strangle this shameless guy to death. But when she got up and rushed over, Zhang Hui had already fled. Oh no, this bastard actually took the underwear away. After a few minutes, Jing suddenly came to her senses. She was angrily scolding Zhang Hui, and accidentally saw the sumptuous meal on the dining table, and smelled the fragrance from a distance. Jing was very surprised. She didn't expect this shameless stinky hooligan to cook good meals. Inexplicably, she felt that Zhang Hui was not that annoying. Her anger suddenly subsided a lot. Every morning, the nurses follow the attending doctors to inspect the wards. Zhang Hui followed Zhao Dicai this morning. Zhao Dicai's face was sallow and his spirit was low. He would hold his waist and scream every time he took a step. Zhang Hui walked to his side, deliberately patted his stomach, and asked with concern, "Dr. Zhao, what's wrong with you?" Zhao Dicai's body was swollen overnight, and when Zhang Hui patted it, it felt like a wasp sting. He immediately screamed like a pig, "Asshole, don't touch me, oh my god." The saying that it is difficult to change a person's nature is true for Zhao Dicai. This guy was tossed around by a streetwalker for 20 yuan for a whole night, but he still had lustful thoughts. He was examining a beautiful female pregnant woman at this moment. The guy rudely moved his hand over her swollen chest, and said thoughtfully, "Well, Mrs. Hu, don't be embarrassed. Most women in labor have this symptom. I'll give you a catheter and it will be fine." The husband of the woman in labor could only stare blankly at his wife being molested. "Zhao Dicai, I have to let you know that there is a price to pay for molesting." Zhang Hui pretended to step forward casually and quietly patted the woman's leg. The woman's foot reflexively kicked Zhao Dicai's crotch hard, and this kick was really fierce. Zhao Dicai covered his hand, jumped up, and screamed. The woman in labor was panicked. "Dr. Zhao, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." "No, it's okay." Zhao Dicai's face flushed and he squeezed out a few words with difficulty, and walked out awkwardly. Zhang Hui laughed secretly. Zhao Dicai's production base suffered a series of disasters. This bastard will probably be honest for a while. After finally completing his inspection of the ward, Zhang Hui ran to the toilet to wait for his turn. Suddenly, he heard Zhao Dicai making a phone call in the squat toilet next door, and the call was to Chen Guang. "Manager Chen, now that you've said that, I understand that it was indeed Zhang Hui, the little bastard, who ruined our good fortune. Don't worry, he doesn't know that we purchased those expired drugs.
Manager Chen, I've already thought of a new countermeasure.
Mr. Ma will come to the hospital for a follow-up examination at noon today, and I will replace the injection that Xinjing gave Mr. Ma. Humph, once Mr. Ma dies, you will successfully become the general manager of sales of your company. And Xinjing will be doomed, and I will be the only candidate for deputy director. Har har, Manager Chen, we win-win.
Zhang Hui was secretly surprised.
What a good Zhao Dezai, with bad intentions, he actually colluded with Chen Guang to do so many bad things. Xinjing must be notified immediately, and she must not be calculated by Zhao Dezai. A fatal medical accident can basically ruin a doctor's future.
Zhao Dezai's move was really insidious. Zhang Hui came out of the toilet and ran into Xinjing not far away.
Xinjing stepped forward, grabbed his collar and scolded angrily, "Zhang Hui, you bastard, give me my things."
What are they? Zhang Hui was confused. You, don't play dumb.
Xinjing's face turned red, and a trace of unnaturalness swept across her. Dr. Shen, I have something very important to tell you. Without further ado, Zhang Hui wanted to tell her quickly.
Mr. Zhang, I don't want to listen to your nonsense.
I tell you, if you don't give me the things before get off work, you're dead. Xinjing frowned and clenched her fists to issue an ultimatum. Dr. Shen, Mr. Ma is here to check your body. Just as Zhang Hui was about to speak, someone called Xinjing not far away, and she turned around and left without looking back. Oh no, something big is going to happen. Chapter 12, A Huge False Accusation.
Zhang Hui chased closely behind, but he was stopped by Song Maimai before he went far.
She suddenly appeared in front of him, holding his hand tightly, and shouted anxiously, "Xiaohui, I finally found you. Something bad has happened, you should go over and take a look." Zhang Hui glanced at her and said absent-mindedly, "What's wrong, Maimai, was your breasts attacked by that patient again?" Because Song Maimai has big breasts, she is often touched by some lecherous male patients in the hospital. And every time, she can only talk to Zhang Hui. Every time Zhang Hui would vent her anger and comfort her. Of course, he would inevitably take the opportunity to touch her again. Song Maimai's face was full of anxiety, and she said anxiously, "It's not me, it's Sister Jingjing, she was blackmailed by a group of bad guys."
What? Zhang Hui was stunned for a moment. "Come with me quickly, now only you can save her."
Song Maimai pulled Zhang Hui away without saying anything. The story is this: a pregnant woman who had been served by Li Jingjing had an accidental miscarriage a few days ago. It was nothing at first, but today the pregnant woman suddenly became swollen all over. The patient repeatedly insisted that Li Jingjing had used the wrong medicine on her, which caused her to swell all over. She even blamed her for the accidental miscarriage. Li Jingjing was now blocked in the ward by the patient's husband and 3 or 4 people, swearing to ask for an explanation. "HMPH, if you want us to give up, either pay us a large sum of money. Or, HMPH, play with us guys tonight. Asshole, don't touch me." As soon as he walked to the door of the ward, Zhang Hui heard the sound of quarreling. He pushed the door open and saw 3 or 4 burly men blocking Li Jingjing in the corner. That posture was clearly for wolves trying to eat the little sheep. Zhang Hui rushed forward quickly and quickly pulled Li Jingjing, who was tearful and terrified, behind him. "Oh, you've got a helper, and it's a male nurse." A young man with dyed yellow hair looked at Zhang Hui and cursed. "Har har, I guess you can only serve footbath water to female nurses and female patients." Another man laughed. Zhang Hui looked at them calmly and said, "That's right, but I can also give you bastards a bath." "Fuck you, I'm tired of living." A man cursed. The 4 people looked at each other and rushed up immediately. Zhang Hui pushed Li Jingjing away and nimbly dodged forward. These 4 people were much better than the ones at the restaurant entrance, but they were no match for Zhang Hui. Zhang Hui dodged and evaded their attacks quickly, hitting them in the abdomen just like he did to the gangsters yesterday. In the blink of an eye, the 4 people fell to the ground screaming. Zhang Hui approached them slowly and said coldly, "Get out of here immediately, or I will make you feel pain all over. You wait for me. You are dead, you little brat." The yellow-haired man shouted in panic and staggered away with the other 3. Song Maimai said anxiously, "Xiaohui, if they tell the head nurse and the director about this, I am afraid that Sister Jingjing will." Zhang Hui did not speak, walked to the bedside a few steps,
and took a look at the swollen and comatose patient. He quickly took action and massaged her 7 spiritual points. Soon, the swelling of the female patient subsided. "Xiaohui, you are amazing." Zhang Mai happily pulled Zhang Hui's arm and shouted excitedly. Zhang Hui felt the softness of his arm being squeezed, smiled calmly, glanced at Li Jingjing, and said, "Sister Jingjing, this patient was injected with an expired drug, so she is swollen. Those people have nothing to do with this patient. They must have bribed this patient and deliberately came to make trouble." Zhang Mai blinked her eyes, looked at Li Jingjing in surprise, and said, "Sister Jingjing, who have you offended recently?" "Chen Guang." Li Jingjing screamed in surprise. With a bang, the door was kicked open. The 4 people came with the head nurse and the director in a menacing manner. "Look, my wife is still swollen all over. What's going on?" The yellow-haired man just said half of his words. Looking at the patient who was completely fine on the bed, he was dumbfounded. Zhang Hui curled his lips, stared at him and said, "Sir, our hospital needs to hold you legally responsible for your false accusation. Don't think that we nurses are easy to bully." I. Guang Mao was speechless and couldn't say a word. Perhaps he realized that something was wrong, so he took the opportunity to take the 3 people away quickly. Their head nurse came over, patted Zhang Hui on the shoulder, and praised, "Zhang Hui, you performed well. You should be like this in the future. Do you really think that we nurses are easy to bully?" Zhang Hui smiled modestly. It was rare. This was the first time he was praised by the head nurse since he joined the company. "Zhang Hui, stop right there. Are you going to see Dr. Shen again?" Coming out of the ward, he was stopped by Li Jingjing not far away. "Sister Jingjing, I have something urgent to do with Dr. Shen." Zhang Hui turned his head and glanced at her, then ran quickly to Shen Jing's office. As soon as Zhang Hui ran to the door of Shen Jing's office, he was caught up by Li Jingjing. "HMPH, I saw it a long time ago. You must be interested in her." Seeing Zhang Hui caring so much about Shen Jing, Li Jingjing felt inexplicably uncomfortable. "Sister Jingjing, you are thinking wrongly." Zhang Hui ignored her and opened the office door. Shen Jing was holding the unconscious Ma Guifan and shouting in panic. Chapter 13, Exceptional Recruitment. Zhang Hui immediately saw the half-used injection on the table next to him, and he immediately knew what was going on. He rushed in and came forward to comfort Shen Jing. "Dr. Shen, don't shout, Miss Ma is poisoned." "Poisoned?" Shen Jing looked at Zhang Hui helplessly with a confused look. This was the first time Zhang Hui saw this woman who had always been very opinionated look at her like this. "Hey, she must be interested in me." Zhang Hui thought happily and was about to speak when suddenly, Chen Guang and director Zhao Dezai appeared at the door at the same time. Chen Guang rushed forward in panic, holding Ma Guifan's hand and shouting. The director's face darkened, and he looked at Shen Jing seriously and asked, "Dr. Shen, what's going on?" Shen Jing shook her head and said, "I don't know. I just injected the injection into General Manager Ma according to the normal procedure, but she suddenly." Chen Guang glanced at the injection on the table, rolled his eyes and said, "Okay, it turned out that it was your fault that caused General Manager Ma to have problems. I tell you, if General Manager Ma has any problems, I will never let you go." "Not good, General Manager Ma's condition is not optimistic. The heartbeat seems to have stopped, and it is caused by a very strong poison." Zhao Dezai examined Ma Guifan and said with a dark face. Chen Guang showed a shocked look, grabbed Zhao Dezai's hand tightly, and shouted, "Dr. Zhao, what are you talking about? Then our General Manager Ma is hopeless." Zhao Dezai sighed helplessly and shook his head. Then, he looked at Shen Jing and said, "Dr. Shen, as a doctor with rich experience, how can you be so careless?" Shen Jing opened her mouth but didn't say a word. The director's face changed quickly at this time, snorted coldly, and said sternly, "Shen Jing, if something happens to Ms. Ma, I don't think you can bear it." "Director, don't worry, Miss Ma will not have any problems." Zhang Hui glanced at Zhao Dezai and Chen Guang. These 2 bastards sang the same tune and cooperated really well. "Zhang Hui, what are you kidding? Ms. Ma has no signs of life, and you actually said there is no problem. You are really shameless." Zhao Dezai glared at him fiercely and shouted. "This time he used a very toxic poison, and I am afraid that even gods can't save her. I injected the medicine, and I will take responsibility if there is any problem." Zhang Hui said, and asked Xinjing and Li Jingjing to help and lay Marguerite flat on the ground. Then, he quickly took action and began to massage Marguerite's body. Soon, Marguerite coughed, then slowly opened her eyes and gradually woke up. Zhao Dezai and Chen Guang sat on the ground, their faces pale, hesitating and shouting, how is this possible? Zhang Hui glanced at the two of them and said, Dr. Zhao, Manager Chen, are you disappointed? Zhao Dezai quickly avoided Zhang Hui's sharp eyes. He clearly felt that Zhang Hui had discovered his conspiracy. Marguerite stood up with the help of Xinjing and Li Jingjing, stroking her head and said, what happened to me just now? Zhang Hui smiled lightly and said, Miss Mar, did you feel anything strange just now? Marguerite's cheeks suddenly turned red, and she said slightly, I feel like I was carefully touched from top to bottom. Li Jingjing suddenly laughed, Miss Mar, do you still remember what that person looks like? Marguerite looked up at Zhang Hui, but didn't say anything. Xinjing also looked at Zhang Hui with a complex and shocked look at this time. Zhang Hui's performance once again deeply shocked the director. He stepped forward and patted his shoulder, praising him, Zhang Hui, you are a hidden talent. I didn't expect that there is a genius doctor with excellent medical skills hidden in our obstetrics and gynecology department. It's rare. This is the first time that the director has praised him since he joined the company. Zhang Hui quickly said modestly, Director, you are too kind. The director smiled and said, Zhang Hui, there will be a medical seminar in the provincial capital the day after tomorrow. I will apply for a place for you. At that time, I will share your medical skills with everyone. Everyone present was surprised, especially Zhao Dezai. The director must be crazy. The threshold for participating in the medical seminar in the provincial capital is very high. Many doctors with senior titles and clinical experience may not have the opportunity. Doctors who can participate in this conference are equivalent to another gilding, becoming famous, and getting promoted. Zhao Dezai went around and tried his best, and finally got the place to participate this time. But what is Zhang Hui? Zhang Hui was also very excited and said excitedly, Director, thank you so much. The director smiled slightly, Zhang Hui, do well when the time comes, don't let me down. Sure. Zhang Hui said hurriedly. The director would not make an exception to give Zhang Hui such a quota. In fact, she saw the value of using Zhang Hui. Zhang Hui's strange and superb medical skills shocked her, and at the same time, she thought of a good opportunity that could bring her a promotion. Chapter 14 Good Things Are Ruined. In the lounge, Zhang Hui sat alone on a chair, still immersed in the joy just now. Alas, when good luck comes, it can't be stopped. Zhang Hui sighed and touched his trouser pocket inadvertently, but found a black thong. Hey, isn't this Xinjing's? She must have accidentally put it on when she came out of her house. Recalling that Xinjing asked him what she wanted in a menacing manner, it turned out to be this. Zhang Hui played with the thong over and over again, and it seemed that Xinjing wore it and twisted her charming figure in a charming way. Xiaohui, you are going to be famous. Suddenly, Zhang Maimai opened the door and rushed in. Zhang Hui was holding the thong in front of him at this time. He secretly said that it was not good and quickly stuffed it under his buttocks. However, Zhang Maimai still saw it. She walked a few steps to Zhang Hui, looked at him and asked, Little Hui, you are so shameless that you put that thing on your face. Let me see if you stole it from me. Go away, don't be so self-indulgent. I'm too lazy to peek at you when you take a bath, and I'm willing to steal your things. Zhang Hui rolled his eyes at her. What are you talking about, you big bad guy? Take it out from me, I want to see it. Zhang Maimai rushed over to fight for it without saying a word. Of course, Zhang Hui didn't let her get it so easily. So, Zhang Maimai simply rode on him directly, stuck to him tightly, and reached under Zhang Hui's butt with both hands. Zhang Hui felt Zhang Maimai's graceful figure, and his heart was filled with ripples. Especially her unusually proud breasts, which pressed tightly against his body and squirmed. Quickly, Zhang Hui reacted. Zhang Hui, what's in your trouser pocket? It hurts me. Zhang Maimai suddenly stopped, with a stern innocent face. He suddenly held Zhang Maimai's hips tightly from behind, and said with a wicked smile, Maimai, you tease me so much, and you still ask me what it is. Zhang Maimai suddenly realized something, her cheeks flushed, and she struggled to push Zhang Hui away. Damn Xiaohui, stinky Xiaohui, you big bad guy, you bully me. Zhang Hui let her struggle, hugged her hard, and the two hugged each other more closely. Especially the cheeks, almost touching each other. Zhang Mai was extremely shy and lowered her head gently. Her breathing became rapid, and her chest rose and fell. Zhang Hui couldn't help kissing the charming red lips, and Zhang Mai also came up. Zhang Hui, do you have something to do? What are you doing? Shenjing stood at the door, screamed, and suddenly turned around. Damn, why did she suddenly break in? Zhang Hui quickly separated from Zhang Mai and stood up. Zhang Mai had always been a good girl in the hospital, but this time she was caught. She was so shy that she lowered her head and found an excuse to run out quickly. Shenjing walked over quickly, her face tense, and stared at Zhang Hui angrily. Zhang Hui, you are so bold. During working hours, you actually did such a shameful thing with your colleagues in the lounge. Do you know what punishment you will face? Zhang Hui tried to make himself look natural, walked slowly to her, smiled and said, Dr. Shen, do you need to make a big deal? I'm treating Mai. Nonsense, is there anyone who treats like that? Although Shenjing had never experienced sex, she knew what that position was and could even call out its name. Zhang Hui walked closer to her, looked at her sexy and mature figure in her white coat, and said with a sly smile, Dr. Shen, what's wrong with treating patients like that? It's enough to cure them. Zhang Hui's signature sly smile made Shenjing very disgusted. She instinctively took a step back and distanced herself from him. Zhang Hui, do you know anything about the injection that Mr. Ma injected? HMPH, you're asking me now. Zhang Hui deliberately kept it a secret, raised the corner of his mouth, and said with a wicked smirk, more than that, I also know who did it. Then, tell me quickly. You can tell me, but shouldn't Dr. Shen show it? Zhang Hui pouted exaggeratedly, and this obscene look was obvious. Asshole, you're looking for death. Shenjing kicked him hard in anger. Her first kiss was kidnapped by this bastard, and he still wanted to get more. Zhang Hui dodged and quickly went behind her, and suddenly came over and kissed her red lips. I'll kill you, you bastard. Shenjing was furious. No man had ever dared to flirt with her like this. She had always been the queen, but she was flirted with by Zhang Hui, a little male nurse. Wait a minute, Dr. Shen, I'll tell you. Shenjing was about to take action, but Zhang Hui said calmly and with a smile. Zhao Detsai, you bastard, I will definitely settle this account with you. After listening to Zhang Hui's story, Shenjing's face turned red with anger, and her fists clenched and creaked. Zhang Hui approached her gently, feeling her hips through her white coat, sniffing her body fragrance, and said with a sly smile, Dr. Shen, Zhao Detsai can't move you when I'm here. Surprisingly, Shenjing didn't push Zhang Hui away, and said lightly, come with me after get off work, I'll take you to see someone. Just when Zhang Hui was about to ask who he was going to see, Li Jingjing called him outside to go to the ward for rounds. Dr. Shen, see you after work. Zhang Hui suddenly slapped the white coat and turned away. Shenjing was furious and was about to get angry when she suddenly found a black thong hanging behind Zhang Hui's butt. Zhang Hui, you shameless pervert, stop right there. Chapter 15 Li Jingjing's thoughts. Sister Jingjing, I don't think I have the task of making rounds. Zhang Hui remembered when he caught up with Li Jingjing in the ward. Li Jingjing frowned, didn't even look at him, and said coldly, then go away, no one wants you to come. Then she pushed him away and walked away rudely. Didn't you ask me to come? Zhang Hui was a little speechless. Of course Zhang Hui didn't leave, but accompanied Li Jingjing to check the room. However, Li Jingjing kept frowning and ignored him. Back in the lounge, Li Jingjing sat down on the chair, then lifted up her nurse's uniform and lifted up a long white leg. Zhang Hui was a wise man, he quickly went forward to lift it, took off his shoes, and gently massaged it. Li Jingjing's legs are very beautiful, long and white, and her feet are also very delicate. Not to mention, many people came to Li Jingjing just for these long legs and beautiful feet. Zhang Hui gently massaged while looking at Li Jingjing and asked, Sister Jingjing, how is it? Is my massage okay? Li Jingjing closed her eyes and bit her lips, looking very enjoyable. At the same time, she twisted her body slightly, but did not speak. HMPH, I asked you to pretend. Zhang Hui curled his lips, smiled mischievously, and tapped Li Jingjing's soles hard. Li Jingjing screamed and trembled as if she had been electrocuted. A comfortable feeling she had never experienced before surged from the soles of her feet, washing her whole body.
She was a nurse and was very familiar with this feeling. Li Jingjing kicked Zhang Hui away, her face slightly red, and said angrily, "Damn Xiaohui, what did you do to me?" Zhang Hui quickly stepped forward, looking at Li Jingjing's snow-white chest that was violently rising and falling, and said, "Sister Jingjing, you finally paid attention to me." Li Jingjing deliberately puffed out her chest, as if deliberately tempting Zhang Hui, then pouted and said angrily, "Humph, go find your Dr. Shen, do you still care if I pay attention to you?" Listen, these words are full of sour taste. Zhang Hui approached her and said, "Sister Jingjing, you are not jealous, are you? Don't be so conceited. Don't think that you are valued by the director, so you feel good about yourself. Sister Jingjing, you are going too far." Zhang Hui moved his face close to her, almost touching her beautiful red lips, then held her hand and said with a smile, "No matter when, you are my sister Jingjing." Li Jingjing surprisingly did not push him away, but blinked her beautiful eyes shyly, and said faintly, "Stop talking nonsense. When you come back from the medical seminar, your identity will be different. Will you still look at me?" Li Jingjing's worries existed. After the news that Zhang Hui was appointed by the director to attend the medical seminar spread, the nurses, including the head nurse, were fascinated by Zhang Hui. Even the beautiful doctors and nurses from other departments came to inquire about Zhang Hui's news. So she was worried about this. Zhang Hui felt funny. Seeing Li Jingjing's charming appearance, he couldn't help but come up and kiss her red lips, grinning wickedly. "Sister Jingjing, you believe me now, right? You big bad guy, you just know how to bully others." Li Jingjing beat Zhang Hui with her fists like raindrops like a spoiled child. But it seems that she is not really angry. Li Jingjing suddenly sat up, as if she thought of something, and looked at Zhang Hui and said, "Xiaohui, I just passed by the director's office and found that Dr. Zhao and the head nurse were inside. Dr. Zhao seemed to oppose your participation in the medical seminar. He was arguing with the head nurse, saying bad things about you and trying to dissuade the director." Zhang Hui just smiled. It would be abnormal if Zhao Dezai didn't do this. Let him be. This Zhao guy doesn't like me anyway. Li Jingjing frowned, looked at him curiously and asked, "Xiaohui, I don't quite understand why the head nurse and the director insisted on recommending you to participate in the medical seminar despite such great pressure. You know, this quota still needs the approval of the health bureau in the end." Zhang Hui shook his head. In fact, this is also what he has never understood. The director is a small role in the hospital and has no background, but she is confident that Zhang Hui's quota will definitely pass the review of the health bureau. Just then, the door of the lounge opened, and the head nurse and the director enthusiastically led a man in a suit in. "Zhang Hui, get up quickly. This is Secretary Wu, say hello quickly." The head nurse quickly gave Zhang Hui a look. "Hello, Secretary Wu." Zhang Hui was very surprised. The man in a suit in front of him was the secretary of Wang Tingquan, the director of the health bureau. Normally, such a nobleman would not even look at him, but now. Secretary Wu was very polite and said with a smile, "You are Zhang Hui, yes, very good." Zhang Hui looked at him in confusion and asked, "Secretary Wu, what do you want to talk to me about?" Secretary Wu did not say anything, but turned his head to look at the director. The director hurried forward and said seriously, "Xiaohui, don't ask anything, just go with Secretary Wu." Chapter 16. This disease is not good to look at. Zhang Hui opened his mouth to ask where to go, but seeing the serious face of the director, he swallowed the words on his lips. There was already a black car waiting outside, and Zhang Hui followed Secretary Wu into the car. The two were speechless all the way. The car turned and soon stopped at the door of a quiet villa. Then, Secretary Wu led Zhang Hui to the living room. "Xiao Zhang, you are here, please sit down quickly." Wang Tingquan walked out with a smile, followed by a woman in her early 30s. It can be said that these two people are really not a good match. Wang Tingquan is short and fat, and he is already in his 50s. The young woman is slender, with a curvy figure, exuding an attractive mature charm. Zhang Hui then realized that this was Wang Tingquan's home. Zhang Hui quickly got up and greeted politely. Wang Tingquan asked him to sit down, and then sat down opposite the young woman with his arm around her. Looking at Zhang Hui, he said with a smile, "Xiao Zhang, you are really young and promising. I didn't expect that there is a miracle doctor like you in our medical system." Zhang Hui laughed dryly and said unnaturally, "Director Wang, you are too kind. If you have anything to say, I will do my best."
This. Wang Tingquan looked embarrassed and glanced at Secretary Wu. Secretary Wu stepped forward and whispered beside Zhang Hui, Xiaohui, our director and his wife have always had an unharmonious marriage. Every time he just got interested, the director gave up. The director has consulted many doctors, but none of them worked. Now, his relationship with his wife is getting weaker and weaker. This secretary is really good at speaking. Isn't it just premature ejaculation of the sheep's tail? No wonder, guarding such a beautiful wife, but can only stare blankly, it must be torture for men. Zhang Hui stood up and walked to Wang Tingquan, smiling and saying, Director, let me take a look at you. Wang Tingquan quickly stood up and looked at Zhang Hui anxiously, Xiaohui, please take a look at how to treat it. Zhang Hui reached out and touched Wang Tingquan's body, then frowned. The Qinji Lingqiao acupoint on Wang Tingquan's waist was tampered with by someone. This acupoint controls men's reproduction and other physiological functions. It seems that this person must also be a master of Jiushuan massage. But using such a sinister trick must mean that he has some grudge against Wang Tingquan. Director, you were plotted against by someone. Have you offended anyone since you started to have the disease? This. Wang Tingquan hesitated, lowered his head but did not speak. Zhang Hui saw this and shook his head and said, Director Wang, if you don't tell me, I can't cure your illness. Oh, I'll tell you. Wang Tingquan said quickly, I had sex with a nurse during that time. But I compensated her, and her family disagreed, so they asked her grandfather to come to me to argue. Zhang Hui nodded and said, So, did this old man have physical contact with you at that time? He just patted my waist casually. I felt a slight sting at the time, but I didn't care much. Wang Tingquan said. Zhang Hui understood everything. Wang Tingquan must have raped the female nurse. The nurse's grandfather was a master of Jiushuan massage and used a dirty trick on him. He was still a little merciful, otherwise the intensity of the massage on the Qinji Lingqiao acupoint would increase, and Wang Tingquan's thing would be completely scrapped, and he would become a complete eunuch. Zhang Hui quickly developed a sense of disgust for him. He hated such officials who used their power to bully others from the bottom of his heart. However, he still had to treat him. Wang Tingquan is the director of the Health Bureau. This person may be of great help to his work in the future. He immediately stepped forward and quickly massaged Wang Tingquan's waist. Soon, Wang Tingquan felt a burning sensation on his waist, and suddenly felt a needle-like pain. He couldn't help but scream. Zhang Hui came over, looked at him, and smiled, Okay, Director Wang, your illness has been cured. Really, Xiaohui, you didn't lie to me. Wang Tingquan was extremely excited and shouted happily. Zhang Hui nodded and said, Of course it's true. But Director Wang, you can't have sex within half a year, otherwise all your efforts will be wasted. Moreover, after half a year, you can only have sex with your wife. Once you have sex with other people, your condition will worsen, and I can't help you at that time. This. Wang Tingquan hesitated. In the future, he can only have sex with his wife, which is not too bad. Mrs. Wang came over and said angrily, Why, haven't you suffered enough? Do you want to repeat the same mistake again? Wang Tingquan stopped talking and smiled unnaturally. Xiaohui, I will approve your place to attend the medical seminar tomorrow. Wang Tingquan said when Zhang Hui came out. Zhang Hui was stunned for a moment, but he understood everything immediately. From the beginning, the director was using him when he recommended him to attend the medical seminar. Zhang Hui cured Wang Tingquan's unspeakable secret, so the director naturally had the merit of recommending him, so it was no problem for him to rise to prominence in the future. It was already time to get off work when Zhang Hui returned to the hospital. He had just changed his clothes in the lounge and ran into Xinjing. Let's go, President Ma is waiting for us. Chapter 17 Tempting Conditions. Xinjing was dressed very stunningly, with a slim low-necked red short skirt that outlined her graceful and mature figure. The high chest and the pair of snow-white long legs in red high heels are so charming. However, her face always has a cold temperament, giving people a sense of superiority and oppression. Zhang Hui followed her, touching her twisting buttocks intentionally or unintentionally with one hand. Wow, the touch is really amazing. Xinjing glared at him fiercely and said angrily, Mr. Zhang, if you don't want your dog poor, tell me as soon as possible, and I will cut it off with a scalpel immediately. Zhang Hui quickly became honest. Once this woman gets ruthless, she looks no worse than a fierce monster.
Shen Jing drove a dazzling red sports car, which was really eye-catching with her elegant and arrogant temperament.
Zhang Hui was actually very excited. It was his first time to ride in a sports car, and he looked around in it. Shen Jing glanced at him and said coldly, "What are you looking at? Sit tight and don't move."
Zhang Hui grinned and said, "Dr. Shen, I heard that you never let men touch your car."
"I'm the first one to get on it." "What do you mean by getting on or not? That's so unpleasant."
Shen Jing frowned and rolled her eyes at him.
As she said that, she started the car and rushed out with the accelerator. This series of postures was smooth and unrestrained. Zhang Hui's heartbeat accelerated. TSK, it must be exciting to have sex in the car with this beauty. Margouafan was arranged in a high-end hotel. At this time, she sat in the box and waited quietly. Zhang Hui and Shen Jing came soon. Zhang Hui was amazed at the first sight of Margouafan. Margouafan tied her hair into a ponytail and wore a deep V-black gauze skirt. Her hot figure was faintly visible. Especially the breasts and the upturned backside, which are the most attractive.
"Xiaohui, Dr. Shen, you are here, please sit down quickly."
Margouafan stood up and came over to greet them with a smile. Zhang Hui held Margouafan's white and soft little hand, and he couldn't close his mouth.
Zhang Hui was pulled by Margouafan and sat on her side, while she sat next to Shen Jing.
"Miss Mar, you have recovered well. I think you are more beautiful." Zhang Hui smiled as he smelled the faint fragrance on Margouafan, who was almost next to him. Margouafan smiled sweetly, "Xiaohui, this is all your credit. I plan to thank you this time." Zhang Hui's arm accidentally touched her soft chest and trembled. He blinked and looked at her curiously. "Miss Mar, you are too polite." Margouafan showed a charming smile and wrote softly, "Xiaohui, your massage skills really shocked me. Why don't you come to our company? I will give you a salary of 10,000 yuan a month, how about it?" 10,000 a month, such a high salary, Zhang Hui never dared to think about it before. But he saw a trace of shrewdness and cunning in Margouafan's eyes. "With a salary of 10,000 yuan a month, I don't know how much profit I can create for you just for my Jiushuan massage method." In fact, Margouafan did have other considerations. She was selling medicines, and actually wanted to use Zhang Hui's Jiushuan massage method to cooperate with her company's medicine combination sales. If this can be successful, it will improve the sales performance of medicines, which may be measured several times. Zhang Hui smiled and said, "Miss Mar, thank you for your kindness, I will think about it." In fact, he was dissatisfied in his heart for a long time. If he wanted to repay, he could just give money directly or sleep with me for one night. "Come here for such empty talk, you businessman, everything is for profit." Shen Jing cleared her throat and said lightly, "Mr. Mar, we are not here to talk about this." Margouafan turned her head and glanced at Shen Jing, smiled unnaturally, and said hurriedly, "Oh, I forgot. Xiaohui, can you tell me again what you heard Zhao Dezai say in the toilet?" Zhang Hui finally understood that Margouafan did not simply invite him to dinner. He then told Margouafan everything he heard that day. Margouafan listened to it, but she didn't get angry. Instead, she smiled faintly. "Chen Guang and Zhao Dezai colluded with each other and secretly sold the expired drugs hoarded by our company to your obstetrics and gynecology department, making a lot of dirty money. I have been secretly investigating this matter. Chen Guang must have become suspicious, and he is very ambitious and has always been thinking about my position. So, he tried to kill me again and again." Shen Jing said, "Boss Mar, I suspect that the rare pregnancy syndrome you have is the result of him and Zhao Dezai colluding with each other. During that time, you were hospitalized all the time, and Chen Guang took care of the company's affairs. It was at that time that he and Zhao Dezai made a secret deal." Margouafan's face darkened, and she concentrated for a long time before slowly exhaling, saying, "Dr. Shen is right. Well, Chen Guang and Zhao Dezai are not easy to deal with. Xiaohui, you have offended them, so you must be careful in the future." Margouafan knew very well that people who offended Chen Guang basically had no good end. Zhang Hui shrugged and said with a smile, "Don't worry, Miss Mar, they can't do anything to me. But you have to be careful, Miss Mar, if you need anything in the future, just let me know, I will do my best." Margouafan showed a look of joy and gave Zhang Hui a charming smile. "Xiaohui, I remember your words, I won't be polite in the future." Zhang Hui felt Margouafan's legs gently rubbing against his legs, and in his mind he saw Shen Jing driving over, winking at him, and said, "Get in the car, go to my house." Chapter 18 Zhao Dacai's Trick. Zhang Hui thought he had heard it wrong. After getting in the car, he leaned over and asked with a smile, "Dr. Shen, did I hear it right just now? Why are you talking so much nonsense?" Shen Jing didn't answer him, but suddenly started the car. Zhang Hui leaned forward and almost hit the operating table. He was so angry. Why didn't he notify him before driving? He wasn't ready yet. All the way, Shen Jing drove at lightning speed. She kept frowning and full of anxiety, as if she was worried about something happening. After driving to the community, Shen Jing jumped out of the car and walked quickly towards home. When she walked to the door and saw that there was no one around, she breathed a sigh of relief, gently stroked her chest, then opened the door and went in. In fact, Shen Jing received a call from Zhao Dacai just now and waited for her at her door. She was worried about being entangled by Zhao Dacai, so she had to bring Zhang Hui with her. However, Zhao Dacai did not come. Just as Zhang Hui was about to follow him in, Shen Jing blocked the door, rolled her eyes at him, and said indifferently, "It's too late, go away." "You must be kidding me, don't play with me like this." Zhang Hui was almost angry and cried. "Dr. Shen, you brought me to your house. Now that we're at your doorstep, please invite me in for a glass of water. Do you want everyone in the hospital to know that this is your way of entertaining guests?" Zhang Hui didn't plan to leave just like that, and said shamelessly, You agreed to come in for a glass of water." Shen Jing hesitated for a moment, glared at Zhang Hui, and then let him in. Zhang Hui came in and sat on the sofa, poured a glass of water, and looked around while drinking. "Dr. Shen, you live in such a big house alone, are you not used to it?" Shen Jing stood opposite him, stared at him with a stern face, and said coldly, "Mind your own business, eat and drink the water quickly and leave." Zhang Hui grinned, but his eyes were looking at Shen Jing. Under the light, Shen Jing was like a blooming peony, extremely beautiful. It seemed that she was waiting for someone to pick her at any time. "Where are you looking? Drink up and leave." Shen Jing noticed Zhang Hui's naughty eyes looking at her and shouted angrily. Zhang Hui smiled evilly, "Dr. Shen, you are so charming in this outfit. Any man will definitely be attracted to you. You also wore this outfit last time. Did you go out on a date with someone?" A trace of panic swept across Shen Jing's face. She glared at him fiercely and shouted angrily, "Mr. Zhang, why are you talking so much nonsense? Have you finished drinking? Get out of here." As she said that, she came forward to pull him. How could this be a way of treating guests? Zhang Hui was so angry. He had just put down the water cup when Shen Jing pushed and shoved him to the door. Shen Jing was about to open the door when suddenly there was a knock outside. "Xiao Jing, open the door, I'm here." Zhang Hui opened his eyes wide. Unbelievable, this is Wang Tingquan's voice. Shen Jing hurriedly threw Zhang Hui away and shouted, "Wang, Director Wang, why are you here?" Wang Tingquan seemed to have drunk a lot of wine, and his words were a little unclear. "Xiao Jing, didn't you ask someone to bring me here? You are a smart man, you finally figured it out." Zhang Hui cursed in his heart, lying is really shameless. Damn, if you want to find Shen Jing, you have to find a decent reason. Shen Jing looked confused. "Director Wang, I did you remember it wrongly?" "Xiao Jing, don't be shy. We had a very pleasant date last time, I knew you must miss me. Come on, little baby, open the door." Wang Tingquan said, knocking on the door again. Zhang Hui understood at this time that Shen Jing was wearing such sexy and seductive clothes last time because she was dating Wang Tingquan. Shen Jing was embarrassed and said unnaturally, "Okay, Director Wang, wait a minute." She then gave Zhang Hui a look, signaling him to go to the bathroom to hide first. Zhang Hui was reluctant, but he went anyway. But he was still very annoyed. "I'm not an adulterer, why should I hide? However, hiding in the bathroom, I can still see everything outside through the crack of the door." Shen Jing opened the door and saw Wang Tingquan rushing up to her. She frowned and helped him sit down on the sofa. Wang Tingquan looked at Shen Jing with his eyes half drunken, his face full of lewdness. He took the opportunity to touch Shen Jing from time to time, and said with a smile, "Xiao Jing, you are getting more and more beautiful, much better than my yellow-faced woman." Shen Jing broke free as if she had been electrocuted, and stood aside and said unnaturally, "Director Wang, don't be like this. You drank too much, I. Wang Tingquan waved his hand with a shy face and said, Xiao Jing, why are you shy? I tell you, as long as you follow me, I will let you be the director of your obstetrics and gynecology department. Shen Jing was not impressed by this, and hurriedly said, Director Wang, please sit down first, I'll be back soon. Then he ran to the bathroom. Zhang Hui was a little surprised by Shen Jing's sudden intrusion. He stepped forward and asked with a smile, Dr. Shen, did you suddenly miss me? Don't talk nonsense to me, hurry up and find a way to send Director Wang away. Shen Jing stepped on him angrily and walked quickly to the window inside. Damn, is there anyone who begs for help like this? Zhang Hui dodged quickly, walked up to her, and then stretched out his arms to support the window. Feeling the upturned part under the soft body, his heart was really full of waves. Dr. Shen, if you want to say this, there is still a way. Shen Jing turned her head and glared at him, shouting angrily, Zhang Hui, you bastard, get out of here, do you want to die? The situation is special now, Zhang Hui is not afraid that she will make any noise. He leaned his face closer and slightly against Shen Jing's beautiful and white cheek. Zhang Hui, you bastard, if you don't let me go, don't blame me for being rude. Shen Jing wanted to eat Zhang Hui alive at this moment. However, she didn't dare to make too much noise. Dr. Shen, look, isn't that Zhao Detsai? Zhang Hui suddenly pointed to a window opposite and shouted. Chapter 19 Sleep at my house tonight. Shen Jing looked across the street and it was as expected. In a window on the opposite floor, Zhao Detsai was sitting in front of a telescope. He looked at it for a few times, and a sinister smile squeezed out of the corner of his mouth. And the telescope was facing Shen Jing's room. Shen Jing suddenly understood that for such a long time, she always felt that she was being peeped at every time she went home. Especially when taking a bath and changing clothes, this feeling was even stronger. She cursed angrily, Zhao Detsai, this bastard, is really fucking perverted. Zhang Hui seemed to have thought of something, slapped his forehead and said, Dr. Shen, I think it might be like this. Zhao Detsai brought Director Wang to your house, and he was watching your joke across the street. After Zhang Hui said this, Shen Jing suddenly found that everything was sorted out. She gritted her teeth and shouted angrily, what on earth is Zhao Detsai, this bastard, up to? Zhang Hui said, Dr. Shen, don't worry, Zhao Detsai will definitely not let Director Wang and you really be together. I suspect this is a trap. Once something really happens between you and Director Wang, if Mrs. Wang suddenly visits, guess what the consequences will be? Shen Jing was shocked by Zhang Hui's reminder and broke out in a cold sweat. If Wang Taitian found out, he would definitely think that she had hooked up with Wang Tingquan. Then, Mrs. Wang would definitely use all kinds of relationships to make trouble for her work. It is even possible to fire her directly. Of course, Shen Jing didn't know the secret that Wang Tingquan couldn't have sex with a woman for half a year. She turned around quickly, looked at Zhang Hui, and asked in a panic, Zhang Hui, what should we do? This turn, Shen Jing was completely pressed against Zhang Hui's chest. What's more terrible is that her lips kissed Zhang Hui's mouth directly. Zhang Hui felt the softness of his chest and red lips, and a stream of heat quickly surged up. He clearly saw that Shen Jing's face was full of murderous intent, so he quickly stepped back and said innocently, Dr. Shen, you kissed me, it has nothing to do with me. Shen Jing was too lazy to be angry with him now, and said unhappily, stop talking nonsense, and think of a way quickly. There is a way. Zhang Hui curled his lips and showed a rare devilish smile. Shen Jing walked out of the bathroom and walked to the balcony to draw the curtains. Then he sat down next to Wang Tingquan, took his hand and said softly, Director Wang, I'm sorry, I kept you waiting for a long time. Wang Tingquan looked at Shen Jing with lustful eyes and had already started to make moves. It's okay, Xiao Jing, it's late at night, let's rest. Shen Jing lowered her head and responded softly. So, Wang Tingquan hugged her and got up and walked towards the bedroom. But after walking a few steps, he groaned and fell backwards unconscious. Zhang Hui hugged him from behind and gave Shen Jing a wink. Shen Jing quickly walked to the wall and turned off the lights, and the living room was dark in an instant. Taking advantage of the night, Zhang Hui carried Wang Tingquan on his back and came out with Shen Jing. Soon, the two of them appeared at the door of Zhao Detsai's house. Shen Jing knocked on the door, and a curse came from inside. Fuck, which woman's bed are you fooling around with again? Do you still know this family? This is Zhao Detsai's wife, no wonder she cursed like that. Zhao Detsai often flirts with other women and rarely has the opportunity to stay at home. Zhang Hui quickly put Wang Tingquan on the ground, then patted him on the head, and ran out with Shenjing. Until they hid in the car, the two breathed a sigh of relief. Zhang Hui approached Shenjing, smiled evilly, and said, "Dr. Shen, guess what will happen next?" "Is there any need to guess? Zhao Dicai's wife will definitely help Wang Tingquan into their house. Then it is estimated that a series of things that are not suitable for children will be staged next." Zhang Hui had long heard that Zhao Dicai's wife was also a woman with a promiscuous nature. She probably dreamed of having a noble man like Wang Tingquan come to her door. Maybe after a good night's sleep, the work problem can be solved. Shenjing looked at Zhang Hui and couldn't help but smile. "Zhang Hui, only you can come up with such a crooked idea. It seems that Zhao Dicai has been cuckolded." Zhang Hui snorted and said, "You wish, he won't be comfortable wearing this green hat." Then he told Shenjing about his next plan. Soon, the two drove to Wang Tingquan's house and went straight to Mrs. Wang. "Mrs. Wang, it's bad. We just saw Dr. Zhao sending Director Wang to his house on the road, saying that he wanted to have some fun for Director Wang." Zhang Hui shouted in panic. "What, Zhao Dicai, this bastard, is he going to kill old Wang?" Mrs. Wang was immediately furious when she heard this. Zhang Hui drooped his face and said in embarrassment, "Mrs. Wang, you should go and have a look. If Director Wang really did something indecent with another woman, then all my previous efforts would be in vain." Mrs. Wang nodded quickly, thanked Zhang Hui, and called the driver. After leaving Mrs. Wang's house, Zhang Hui stretched and said, "Dr. Shen, after tonight, I think Zhao Dicai's anger towards you will definitely disappear." Shenjing also admitted that Zhao had been bullied by Zhao Dicai for such a long time. She had never found a way to retaliate against him, but everything changed after Zhang Hui broke into her vision. Not only did he help her successfully escape from the trap set by Zhao Dicai many times, but he also helped her vent a lot of anger. Especially tonight, she really felt proud. This guy, in fact, is not that annoying. On their way back, Zhang Hui said, "Dr. Shen, the dormitories in the hospital are closed now. Please park on the roadside in front of me and I will find a place to sleep." Shenjing was stunned and looked at him in surprise. "It's so late, where can you find a place to sleep? What can I do? You don't let me sleep at your house." Zhang Hui said lightly, posing an innocent posture. "I." Shenjing bit her lip, hesitated for a moment, and said softly, "Okay, sleep at my house tonight." Zhang Hui shuddered, sat up quickly, and stared at Shenjing closely. "Dr. Shen, I am not dreaming, there is such a good thing." Shenjing's face swept across a trace of displeasure, and said unhappily, "Zhang Hui, don't have any crooked thoughts. I just let you sleep at my house, don't mess around." Zhang Hui patted his chest and swore to the sky, "Dr. Shen, don't worry, others don't know what kind of person I am, Zhang Hui, but you don't know it." Shenjing rolled her eyes at him and said nothing. "I have a deep understanding of your character." After returning home, Shenjing tidied up a room and said, "Here, you sleep here tonight." Zhang Hui smiled happily, went forward and fell on the bed, stretching hard. "Oh, this bed is so comfortable." Shenjing said coldly, "Sleep well and don't touch other things. Leave immediately tomorrow morning and don't let anyone see you." "Okay, I know, I'm going to sleep," Zhang Hui said, and quickly stripped off his clothes. "You bastard." Shenjing's beautiful face flushed, and she turned away. She had never seen such a shameless bastard. Lying on the bed, Shenjing was still angry.